okay, I need to post about this because I'm sort of on a bit of a rant, but I'm so fed up. I know, I see the irony of this because I'm just about to put this on Facebook, but the way that technology dominates our lives, the way that you can't do anything without having to do it online, without logging into some stupid app. And it's like, I know that people are going to say, well, some people might say, well, that's because you're old, Julia, and you're not embracing the new technology. And I'm going to swear now and say, fuck off, fuck off. And, you know, take a step back and think, you know, I personally didn't sign up for this, you know, and I love Helena Bonham Carter when she said, I'm not doing it. I didn't ask for this. I'm not doing it. Because the point is some arsehole decided to invent this shit. And then and you know, or several arseholes decided to invent it. And now suddenly everybody's got to kowtow to this ludicrous idea that you can't speak to a human, that you have to press an option. And there are so many places now where you can't speak to a human, you know, and it's just options and options, and it's bloody AI and it's bloody bots and all that nonsense. And I just think, well, I know, I mean, people talk about the Great Resignation during COVID, but the real Great Resignation, I think, is that we are resigning from being at the top of the food chain and we're giving it up to the machine, because we are being dehumanised and our humanity is being eradicated. And I don't care if people think that that's a bit hyperbolic, if that's a bit histrionic. I don't care, because I know I'm right. And I know, because I've spoken to a lot of people who agree with me. My cats, they agree with me. But no, seriously, I think it's problematic. It's damaging our mental health, and here is why. I think it was the 60s, there was this experiment called the blank face experiment. And what this experiment did was to have mothers stopping interacting with their babies. So the baby is trying to speak to the mother and looking for a reaction. And the mother, stony-faced, no reaction. And when I say babies, I mean, you know, really young babies, sort of like less than a year old. And the babies quickly got really, really distressed to the point of screaming in distress because they couldn't get a response from the mother, okay? What I think is that, well, I don't think it's a conscious thing. I'm not especially a conspiracy theorist, but I think what is happening in our society, in our culture, with this overkill of technology is an extended version of the blank face experiment, although I suppose everything's an experiment, isn't it, really? I mean, the whole of life is an experiment because you don't know whether it's going to work or not. But the point is that we're interacting with phenomena, with machines that don't reciprocate us. And what that does is it sucks out your energy, it trashes your mental health. You don't even have to be a lunatic like me to be affected by it. I think subliminally it affects everyone. And subliminally it's going to be the end of us. It's going to be the destruction of us. And here is why, okay? I don't believe that constant interaction over sort of, you know, months and months and months or decades or whatever. I don't believe that it changes your DNA, but it doesn't need to. All it needs to do is to mess with your neurons, your neurology. And so we are going to see more psychopaths in the future. We are going to see more people who lack empathy, because you've got kids now growing up who only interact with computers. And I've talked to my therapist about this, and she said she works with children, right? They have AI, imaginary friends, and soon there'll be AI pets. And you know, this is where it's going. And what that does to our humanity is unbelievably toxic. I can't put into words how toxic that is. We're going to stop being able to cope with loss because we believe that loss doesn't exist. And once you stop hurting, once you stop feeling pain, you stop feeling empathy. And that is the problem. That is where we run into problems with narcissistic psychopaths. We are breeding generations of them. I know I sound like Mary Whitehouse. I don't care. The point is that when you go right back to, say, the origins of television, and people say television is toxic, television is going to do all of this, now I'm thinking maybe they had a point, the people who said resist it. And yes, I love television. I watch lots of television. I watch good dramas. But one of the problems you have when you're watching something on a screen is you're not actively interacting. You're passively interacting. And when you passively interact, you don't connect. You disconnect. And so what's going to happen in the future if this doesn't change, if we don't have a revolution of some kind? I'll now get barred from Facebook for having said that. Let's have a revolution. If we don't sort this out, if we don't stop, if we don't step back from the technology, we are going to make ourselves mentally ill. It's already happening. We're already seeing children growing up who can't interact properly. And the thing about imaginary friends is that kids are using their imaginations. And I know this because my therapist told me this. They're not doing that. Like I said, she works with children, and they're not doing that. They are having AI friends. It's not the same. And when people tell me AI is real, I say, fuck off. No, it isn't. It's pretending to be human. It's not human. It's fake. And, you know, once you enter into a stratosphere where you can't distinguish the fake from the real, you enter the stratosphere of madness, of insanity and mistrust. And mistrust is a step on the road, on that journey to insanity, to mental breakdown and to illness. And so I believe strongly that we need to take a step back. I don't know how, we need to find a way to nip it in the bud, protest, refuse to do it, but of course you can't, because everything now involves logging into this and logging into that. I mean, sooner or later, trigger warning for references to lady parts, okay? Sooner or later, we're going to be so technologised, if you like, that we won't even be able to have a baby without barcodes on our labia lips, so that the baby's got a little barcode and the labia lips can scan the baby. And when it comes out, it doesn't cry, it goes beep, beep, beep. That's triplets, by the way. And, you know, we need to take that step back, and we need to think about what the hell are we doing to ourselves, to our mental health, because it is dangerous and it is trashing our mental health. And if anybody wants to block me for saying this, you can fuck off. I don't care, because I've reached a point. I mean, I realise now that so much of what's making me mentally ill, not Facebook, because I have some lovely friends on Facebook, but when technology is a facilitator for communication, it's fabulous. You know, meet people from all over the world and make friends with them. But when it's stopping communication, when it involves dealing with, you know, when it becomes a substitute for our humanity, a substitute for human interaction, okay, step back, right, and think about if you live on your own. I sort of half do, but I don't. But I'm talking about elderly people, disabled people, people who live alone. They don't have any human interaction. Now you go into a supermarket and you don't even need to speak to anybody. You can use a machine, and if they've replaced humans with machines, there soon won't be that interaction. And the fallout of that is going to be, bearing in mind that people's brains are still developing up to the age of 25. So your neurological processes are going to be deeply affected by this. And I say, I don't believe that it will change your DNA, all that nonsense about, you know, with a vaccine, it'll change your DNA. But with interacting with computers, it doesn't need to do that. What it can do is it can change your neurology, because new neurological pathways get created when a pattern is repeated. So if someone's repeatedly playing computer games, repeatedly engaging on social, you know, well, not social media, because that's a mutual communication, where there is a lack of reciprocity, like in the blank face experiment, mothers not responding to their babies, when we interact with machines, we're not hardwired to interact in this particular way. It's dangerous, it's damaging, it's toxic, it's destroying our mental health, and fundamentally we are living in a world that we're not hardwired to live in. And it really isn't going to end well. And anybody who wants to comment on this post, that's absolutely fine. But for me personally, I've found that technology, having to deal with technology, is the reason why I can't function day to day. Take that out of the equation and I will be so much happier. I really, really will. Thank you for listening.